Are there tips for exerting positive influence within the context of doing your job?
Was it directed specifically?
Well, you've been brought up that way, so.
Well, I think the generosity of spirit is do your job well. I mean, and that's, you know, I think that I'm sure that everybody does as they're sitting in this room, but we all have things that we don't like or that we procrastinate about. And I would say that part of building influences is being credible, being somebody that can be counted on, even in the job piece. It's answering the email, it's getting back to the colleague, it's taking pride in your work, and people see that. And I think that that's one way to do it in the confines of your job. I also think, to be honest, we prioritize what's important to us. So I agree that I hear that a lot too, that I'm too busy to do X or I'm too busy to do Y. And I think that most of us in this room have autonomy in our jobs. And I think that making decisions to prioritize something that will pay dividends in the end, and that's the other thing that you have to remind yourself when you're sitting at your I mean, it happens to all of us, so I'm not saying, it happens to me too. Am I gonna get up and come here when I have a million other things to do? Am I gonna, do a face-to-face meeting, or am I gonna take it as a call? And we all make those prioritizations all the time. We all make those trade-offs all the time. And I guess I would encourage you to think about when you're making the trade-off and when you're making that priority. And the other thing too is I would say, again, putting my manager hat on, talk to the person who has influence over, the amount, not the amount of work, but how you prioritize your work. And ask the question, is it more important for me to do X or Y? I'd like to go to this. Can I, I'm going to push this off. Does that seem like a reasonable trade-off? They'll appreciate the fact that you've asked them, and it's also something that they'll take note of the fact that you're actually sort of thinking about the other pieces, which is that relationship building part. So, I think that there's a trade-off, but I also think that sometimes saying I'm too busy is another way of deprioritizing something that maybe isn't as comfortable.
So we're still on influence, or are we ready for a new question? So I think that influence also is an organic thing. It really grows organically. It grows out of credibility, and often we may see things I've seen things that I'd like to have more influence over, which I don't. So I think there's certainly a lot of having patience with that, but often planting seeds and giving things time to grow will also, move that influence forward.